Hey everyone. So this video is going to be about financial literacy, about money. I was watching a video about this whole buy now, pay later thing, and it made me really angry because these companies are taking advantage of people who have very low financial literacy. And it made me so upset. And it turns out that nobody's teaching anyone about money, about managing money, about saving money, about investing, not overspending, not getting into debt. Besides your health, money is almost the most important thing in the world. Because if you don't have a lot of money and you're struggling and you're in debt, you're going to feel very bad. Because being in debt, owing people money, it's like they own you. A long time ago, if you owed debt to someone, they could put you in jail or force you to work, like slave labor until you paid off your debt. Now, maybe we should bring that back, or maybe we should just start teaching people. So, when I was young, my parents never really taught me about money, about saving, investing, not getting into debt. It just never really came up. But I don't know why some parents don't really teach their kids about the importance of money, but I'm going to tell you in this video. So, there's basically, when it comes to money, you basically have winners and losers. There's not much gray area. And now, in my opinion, a winner is somebody who manages their money very well, like maybe with a spreadsheet. Okay, so personally, I have a budget of how much I want to spend every month, and I have a spreadsheet, and I break it down by day. Maybe it's about $20 a day or so, something like that. I have a category for fixed costs, for other stuff. And I always follow my spreadsheet. I never go over budget. If my spreadsheet says zero or it's negative, I just don't buy anything. And that's called sacrifice. Sacrifice means you want something, but you don't buy it because you don't have enough money right now. And for people, like very older people who lived during the Great Depression, when the economy was really bad and there weren't enough jobs, there wasn't enough food, and people had to wait in line for a couple of hours just to get a piece of bread, they really understood the importance of not buying something that you can't afford. Now, with the exception of a house or a car, some people said never ever borrow money for any reason. And I kind of agree with that. Instead of borrowing money, like buy now, pay later, like if an iPhone is like $1,000, don't make, payments of 250. Like never do that. Instead, save money every month. Maybe you can save 100, 200, 300. And after 3 or 4 months, or it could take you 6 months or a year, you get the iPhone after you've saved enough to pay in full. Now, I can hear everyone thinking, no, I want an iPhone now. Okay? That's like a baby. Okay? Wanting something now and buying it now, but you can't afford it, it's a recipe for a disaster. Because what some people start doing is they do this buy now, pay later, and then they buy an iPhone, and then they buy a refrigerator, and then a TV, and they buy. And even something like, you buying a burrito for $10. They're like, instead of paying $10, why don't you make 5 payments of $2 a month? And then they have all this debt, and when it's time to pay it off, they don't have enough money. And so then you start making these minimum payments and you start paying interest. Your debt starts ballooning and you pay interest on the interest. And pretty soon, you turn around and you've got like $10 or $20,000 in debt, which could take you many years to pay off. And it's like, whoop, they got you. They own you. Okay? Every time you earn $1, it's already theirs. And it's going to interest. And I remember a long time ago, I was at the ice cream store and I was talking to this young woman who had just graduated college. And I don't know if she was like 22 or 23, early 20s. She got her first credit card. And what did she do? She maxed it out. She bought this and bought this and bought this. She maxed out the card, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000. And maybe she was earning like $2,000 or $3,000 a month. I don't really know. But she couldn't pay it off. And so she got into debt right away. Because credit cards are very different from cash. It's like if you have cash in your hand or you have money in the bank and you pay with a debit card, if you don't have the money in the bank, you can't buy it. If you don't have the cash, you can't buy it. But with a credit card, they're like, yeah, buy everything. Max out the credit card, And once you max it out and you can't afford it and you make the minimum payment, now you're in debt. Now you're paying interest and then interest on the interest. And a lot of people learn the hard way. Once you get into debt, it's really hard to get out of debt because you pay interest on the interest on the interest. It's like a vicious cycle. It's really hard and it can take years and you just lose all this money. But if you watch this video, you should use a credit card like a debit card. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, you don't buy anything you can't pay off in full at the end of the month. So a smart thing to do for your credit card is, let's say, you have $1,000 in your bank account. Well, you open a new bank account and you call it credit card account. So you go to the store, you spend $5 on your credit card. What do? You transfer $5 from your bank account to the credit card account. So you spend $100, you transfer $100. So at the end of 30 days, if you have spent, say, $500, $800, $1,000 in your bank account, you have $500, $800, $1,000. You pay off your credit card, boom. This is how my entire life, I never, ever did not pay my credit card off in full and on time. I was very organized. And I use a credit card as a tool because, you can get points or 2% cash back. But I never went crazy with it and bought something I couldn't afford. So I had to make the minimum payment. Never. And then with this buy now, pay later, it's the same thing. Maybe they'll tell you, oh, there's no interest. But on this video I watched, 33% of people, 1 in 3, they pay late and then they have a late fee. So instead of using buy now, pay later, why don't you just save money every month and wait and make a sacrifice and be a responsible adult who doesn't get into debt? And so if you put on the brakes and you take a step back and you really think about, what are these things called credit cards? What is this plastic credit card? What is buy now, pay later? It's really just a form of debt as a way to trick someone who's financially irresponsible, someone who doesn't make sacrifices, someone who wants to spend more money than they have and to get into debt. And actually, according to that video, that would be young people between the ages of 18 and 24 years old who never learned about money. So these companies are like sharks sniffing for blood in the water, the blood of a young one, okay? And so I really want to make this video to teach you to basically never use buy now, pay later, and under any circumstances, never use it. Instead, save money every month as much as you can, and once you have enough money to pay in full, you buy it like a normal person. These buy now, pay later companies are getting to like $100 billion, making the money off of people who just can't wait. They're like a baby. They're like, I need an iPhone now. I need a fancy restaurant now. I need these clothes now. I need everything now, now, now. And what are you really doing? You're saying, actually, I want it now. I'm not willing to wait. But what I am willing to do is get into debt and pay hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars in interest over the course of many years. You don't really understand that until it's too late. But once you're owing $10, $20, $30,000 of debt, and the credit card companies, they're calling you all the time, and you always have to pay this debt, it really brings you down. It's like you're walking around with the ball and chain of debt, and it's really tough, and you really don't want that. No iPhone, no fancy dinner, no fancy vacation, no amount of clothes, no fancy TV. Nothing is worth being in a big amount of debt that takes years to get out, and you always pay these interest payments because there's something called opportunity cost, which means the best thing you should do in your life is you have a job or two or more, you have an income coming in, and you take 30% of that income, or more if you can, you save it and you invest it in the S&P 500, FXAIX, like Warren Buffett says. You save 30% or more every month, every month, every month. So let's say you earn, like $3,000 per month as your income. So 30% of that is about $1,000 a month. So every month you save and invest $1,000 towards your retirement, or whatever you want to use it for. Now, as the years go by, that's $12,000 a year. It grows and grows and grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, by the time you're 40, 50, 60, you have lots of money, maybe over $1 million, right? But if you're not doing that because you're in debt, the opportunity cost means you're losing money to interest payments and you're not saving or investing. And once you hit age, 40 or 50 or older, you don't usually have 20 or 30 years for your money to grow and compound. It's better to start investing in your 20s, even though most people don't. So please, please, please be very responsible with your credit cards. Don't overspend on something you can't afford. Don't make minimum payments. Pay it in full and on time every month. Never use buy now, pay later. Never. Just save every month and wait until you have enough money that you can buy it in full, and try to not get into debt. Now, if you're already in debt, you can use something called the budget envelope method, where you make a budget for the month of, say, 1,000, 2,000, whatever, and you have an envelope, for rent, an envelope for entertainment, food, transportation, whatever your categories are. You stuff cash at the beginning of the month. And every time you need it, you take out that money from that category, you take it with you. So maybe you need a wallet, it's more organized by category. And then, say after 15 or 20 days, there's no more money in entertainment, but you want to go to the movies. Well, you wait, you sacrifice. If you run out of entertainment 15 days in the month, the next 15 days, no movies, no entertainment, no video games. You sit on your couch and you just sacrifice and you sacrifice until the next month. And then maybe you increase your budget, or maybe, you spread it out or whatever, but you never tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to have a pass. I'm just going to spend more. I'm going to go over budget, because that's being financially irresponsible. That's very bad. The secret to financial, illiteracy is sacrificing. It's like you want to do something, but you don't do it. You stop. You hold back. Go for a walk, That's free. If you have a park nearby, go to the park, read a book. Do some exercise, call someone on the phone, figure out what kind of things you can do for free if you don't have money to spend.